Hi everyone, good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
How are
Good
you all?
evening, ma'am. Good
How's
evening,
it?
ma'am.
Right. So I'm happy to see so many of you here. How is everything going with the solutions challenge? How are your preparations going for it? How's your chapter doing? I can see some comments. I can see some messages in the chat box saying everyone is doing well. Good. That's great to hear. So today we are having this problem statement explainer session, and okay, slowly getting the registrations. Great. It's good. We have time, but sessions like this will also help encourage registration. So it's good. So everyone, welcome to the problem statement explainer session for the GDG on Campus Solutions Challenge. I'm Uzma and I'll be your host for today. We are super excited to have you here because the journey for this challenge has started and there's so much excitement around it. And I'm sure all of you have had the chance to check out the problem statements, right? Can I get a thumbs up if you have seen the problem statements? Wonderful. Yeah. So now that you have seen the problem statements, I'm sure that you must have some questions, some doubts, some problem statements you might need some deeper understanding of. So don't worry, this is the session designed especially for this. So we'll take a deeper look at the problem statements, and at the end of the session, we'll answer all your questions. Before we begin, I'd also like to request you to please keep your mics on mute during the session. We'll be having a Q&A round at the end of the session, so don't worry, your queries will be answered. So to talk a little bit about the Solutions Challenge as a whole, it is organized by GDG on campus in collaboration with Hack to Skill for student developers like you from various colleges or universities across the country who are a part of the GDG on campus program. It's an opportunity for students to tackle real world issues such as problems in education, healthcare, sustainability, and so much more. We'll see all the possible problems that you can solve for. So you can solve for all of these problems using Google Developer Technologies. And you will not just gain some invaluable skills, but you can also contribute to making a positive impact on the society as a whole, right? So that's something to look forward to. Here is a timeline of the hackathon. We are currently in the registration phase, which will go on till 6th of March. But this phase also includes workshops and idea submissions. So you may all know already that we are hosting regularly some workshops and trainings for you to upskill and get all the necessary skills that you need to excel in this hackathon. Idea submission is also a part of this phase where you submit a brief of your idea and your GitHub repo so that we can evaluate your idea and invite you to the offline boot camps. Please remember that it is mandatory for you to be a registered participant and submit your idea deck by 16th of February to be eligible for the offline boot camps. In March, we'll have the offline boot camps in several parts of the country. After that, you have until 28th March to submit your final project. We will evaluate your submissions and announce the top 100 on 21st April. This will be followed by some personalized mentorship sessions, and then you'll have to submit your final prototype by 25th of May. After evaluating those, we'll announce the top 10, and those teams will then be invited to the grand finale in the second week of July. That's about it for the timeline. It's quite a long timeline. There are so many steps in it, but each of them are, worth the whole process. So before we move further, this is a screenshot of the resources section of the website. So if you go to this section, you'll find some resources that we have compiled for you to make your hackathon journey easier. The first thing you see here is the social toolkit, where you'll find all the promotional content you require for the hackathon, from emails to social media posts, everything that you can use to promote the hackathon and to get more registrations from your chapter. There is also the idea submission template, which is available both on the website and on your hackathon dashboard. So we would recommend you to follow this template because we have some clearly defined, subheadings where we have kept in mind that these subheadings will give us a better idea, better understanding of your idea. So it'll be easier for us to evaluate and, get the best out of your PPTs. Now, the next thing we have is the content palette. The content palette is a whole document full of resources and information about different technologies. The goal of this is to give you the resources for you to build on your knowledge and use them to build the solutions. Lastly, we do understand that you're all students and it may not be easy to figure out all the nitty-gritties of the entire process of redeeming free cloud credits. So we've also made a document outlining all the necessary steps of the process for you. If in case you have any other doubts regarding the redeeming process, don't worry. We also have a session on 24th of January in which we will demonstrate how to redeem these credits. And if in case you have even more queries, then you can always reach out to us at solution challenge support at hacktoskill.com. Now, moving on, I mentioned briefly about the boot camps in one of the previous slides. The offline boot camps are a part of the GDG on Campus Solutions Challenge, and they are designed to guide and support you in refining your solutions and preparing for the project submission phase. Please keep in mind that it's an invite only event, and you'll only be eligible if you register and submit your projects by February 16th. These bootcamps are a wonderful way for you to get one-on-one mentorships based on your idea. This way you can further refine your ideas and make more rounded projects to submit, which will further increase your chances of making it to the top 100. So if I were in your place, I would not miss this opportunity. I would definitely submit my idea because these bootcamps will be invaluable. They'll be an experience for you. We'll have some, exclusive sessions which will not be available online, and they'll only be there for the people who have attended the bootcamps. So I highly encourage you to actually submit your ideas and take a chance and make the most of this opportunity. If you're worried about your idea submission, you really don't need to worry to you don't need to make it perfect as of now. If you submit your idea, even like after making a whole PPT, you submit your idea and then you feel like there's something that could be improved, you can always go and edit your submission until February 16th. So you don't have to take the pressure of making it perfect today and as of now. To reiterate, to be eligible for the bootcamp, you need to submit the following things. You need to submit a deck with an overview of your idea. Like I mentioned, you will find the template for this on your dashboard, on your hackathon dashboard, as well as on the website. You also have to submit a GitHub repository link for your project. And one of the most important things to keep in mind is that your project must have Google technologies in it. Using Gemini APIs and IDX platform will give you bonus points for sure. You don't have to submit your entire working project, but it would definitely help us if you showcase some core functionalities. Now, this is the evaluation criteria. You'll be judged based on these four aspects. The first being technical merit, which will include how effectively and creatively did you integrate Google developer technologies? Is your code well written? Is it efficient and maintainable? And can your solution be scaled for wider adoption and future improvements? 10% of the weightage will go to user experience, where we'll see if your solution is user-friendly, accessible, and pleasant to interact with, and how seamless and impactful is the integration of Google AI tools in your overall functionality. We'll also judge your solution's alignment with cause, where we will see if your solution addresses a critical social challenge within the chosen theme, and if it effectively contributes to social good and addresses community needs. The last criteria is the overall uniqueness of your idea and whether your solution can significantly change or improve the existing process or in existing industries. If you needed any more motivation, here it is. There's a cash pool of 8 lakhs with the winning solution taking 2 lakhs followed by 1.5 lakh for the first runner-up and 1.25 lakhs for the second runner-up. We also have two special category winners where they'll take away 75,000 each. Apart from these cash prizes, of course, we have the top 100 teams who will get certificates of achievement, and some of the top teams will also get a chance to attend Google's career fair. So there's really quite a lot to take away from this. So I highly encourage you to give it your best shot. That was all about the hackathon. Now I'd like to introduce Mr. Kaushik Roy, the COO and CTO of HackerSkill. Over to you, Kaushik.
Hey, hi. Thanks, Uzma. Thanks a lot for this. So, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining in. As we have been mentioning, the session is all about understanding the fundamentals and how you could enhance your submission when you are trying to make submission, be it for bootcamp, be it for the solution challenge, to be proceeding further in the prototype round, etc. And also understanding the fundamentals, what it comes to make a good solution, a presentation, as well as an entire submission, which will help your chances, increase your chances to be selected in the next round. So that is what we'll be understanding today. And apart from this, the major agenda being explaining the problem statement, what are their objectives and what they are looking forward to. So if there are any queries, feel free to raise your question in the chat box, and I'd be happy to help you at the end of the session. So beginning with the first theme, I'd say, which is the education, because there are multiple problem statements in this category, I'd say, in this theme. So when we are talking about education, while I begin with understanding the entire frame of what the problem statements are and what their expectations are, a few things which I'd like to put up to everyone over here and all those watching is that whenever you are building a solution, you need to keep a few things in mind, that a person who would be evaluating at the end of the day, who would be going through all the submissions that have been received in the hackathon, would have a notion or a motive behind the objective. He would have a clear understanding of what the objectives or requirement from the problem statement are. So the first stage for any participant or a team who is trying to submit the make a submission on a specific problem statement, is that you need to be aware of what the objective is. The second being, since a person who is evaluating would be going through and understanding the entire process, would have some of the solutions in his mind as well. You need to be very precise in explaining what your solution is all about. So ideally, you should initiate with addressing the challenge that you're trying to solve. Explain the challenge to the evaluator, like this is the challenge that the community is facing. So if I'll say about education, it would be really great to state certain facts like 50% of rural area does not have a proper education facilities nearby within a range of 5 kilometers. So this is some stats which not only intrigues the uh, quotient within an evaluator, but also helps you put a notion or the gravity of what the problem is being faced right there. So that is something which, this is just an example, as I mentioned, this is something which you should initiate the problems, the submission with, stating and putting up the gravity of the challenge that you're trying to solve. So if you're, let's say, for example, just taking another example, breaking financial barriers to ensure uh, equal access to education. So in this case, you could start look into certain stats and come to a conclusion that around XYZ percentage of students actually drop out of post-primary school just because lack of resources or financial support in their background. So these facts not only help you put an emphasis on how big of a challenge you're trying to solve, but also brings into the notion that this is a large prevailing challenge that needs to be addressed immediately at this stage. So that is something that you should keep in mind. When we talk about the next stage, when you are making a submission, basically, once you have stated the problem challenges that are being faced, come to the point wherein you are speaking about the solution that you are trying to propose. So it could be anything. Let's say if you are solving for breaking financial barriers to ensure equal access to education, you could come up with like a truly open source form of education being provided, a learning management system which could be provided to them, with a lot of courses which are easily available for these underprivileged kids. So that could be one solution. So try to explain your solution and then get into the fundamental technicalities of your solution. That is very important, because while you have addressed the challenge that is out there, you have proposed your solution, backing it with technical capabilities, your understanding of the problem statement, what is the architecture that you are proposing is very important. And obviously, if you remember the evaluation criteria that are out there, right? It's about technical merit, it's about user accessibility, that is how easily a user could understand what is the user experience. Integration of Google tools, that is also very important. So very smaller implementation of tools, like you could utilize Firebase for integrate for using OAuth technologies. You could utilize Gemini API, so that you can, whenever you are trying to propose a solution wherein let's say a solution could be provided from the participants, you can directly integrate it over. So try to figure out these fundamentals which would help put weightage onto your solution. And obviously then you need to have the GitHub repositories, etc. Now, once the reason I was giving a gist about what the solution should be like is so that you have a better understanding of the problem statement objectives when I'm talking about it. So if we talk about education, they are very fundamental. If you club all of these solutions together, what you will get to know is that the objective defined over here is that how education could be provided to every individual equally. That is the core gist of it. But when you are trying to look into specific problem statements, you will find there are differences in each of the problem statements existing out there. So let's say, for example, lack of access to quality education in underserved communities. So when we are talking about underserved communities and quality of education, lack of accessibility, so you can think, for an example, a rural area which does not have institutions to provide education in their local vicinity. Let's say it is not nowhere nearby in a 5-kilometer radius. So you could think about hyper-local solutions. It could be anything. It could be like a model of a bootstrapping for different educators as well as individuals coming up. So these are some of the examples that you can work around with. Similarly, if you are talking about uneven access to quality education in digital age, so this problem statement is looking forward to solutions which are more reliant towards solutions which are provided through digital users. That is your handheld devices, mostly like mobile devices, and then obviously it could be iPads and computers that you are having at your home. So the second problem statement over here, uneven access to quality education in digital age, is more towards what are the solutions that you can provide in terms of education being provided to individuals through the source of their digital companion, that is their mobile, or it is whether it is an iPad, etc. The third problem statement, if we talk about overburdened teachers and the need for personalized feedback, this is more towards whenever you are working on a solution which is focused towards assisting or acting as a companion for the teachers out there. So be it like you could propose certain solutions like help teachers with assessments, with evaluation of the tests, or assessment of homeworks that are being provided. This could be some of the solutions that you're working on with. And also, if it is a companion, it would be able to assess the behavior patterns and how the teacher is responding. And on basis of that, you can train a model which would provide personalized feedbacks to the teachers as well. Financial barriers, breaking of financial barriers, as I mentioned, it could be something wherein you can have different sources through which you could, based on the like the scoring patterns of a candidate, you could help them with certain financial facilities, or you could come up with certain solutions which can help them, which could be an open source solution, as I was mentioning earlier, which could be easily bootstrapped in a local area, hyper local community. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Yeah. Similarly, when we talk about the other set of educational problem statements that are currently out there, be it bridging the gap for immersive and inclusive education. So As we all might have experienced in our days, there's a barrier between people with abilities, I'd say. Especially abled kids have a different perspective towards education and the companionship which is out there in schools, colleges. So, how do you look into solving those, and what are your perspective of how what could be a solution to this is something what we are looking forward to it, and how well it could be immersive. So whenever we are talking about immersive, it does not mean that it should be an XR tech or an AR tech or a VR tech. It could be a simple web-based application as well that could engage the candidates or the students into the perspective of learning, as well as keeping the growth of the community over there. Now, coming on to the next problem statement, that is revolutionizing student education with AI-generated video content. Uh, this is something which is a pretty straightforward, I'd say, solution, wherein all you need to do is create a model which comes up with a lot of model training and has a lot of data on which you are creating AI-generated videos for specific content. And I believe this problem statement is pretty straightforward if you are trying to solve in terms of the objective, not the solution part, but in terms of objective, it is pretty straightforward. Now, coming to the next problem statement, that is addressing educational gaps in minority communities for holistic development. So, as we all know, India is a country which is very diverse in its nature. And whenever we are talking about minority communities, we do see in any society, it's a given norm that people who form the majority group and the people who form the minority group, there's a natural barrier that occurs in between the communities. So how do you try to solve that solution? What are the ways in which you can inculcate different categories or different strategies through which the solution could help bridge this gap and make them be a part of this entire educational society which you might like to see? Now to the next problem statement that is out there for education, that is bridging the education and digital literacy gap for marginalized community. So what we have seen is that we ourselves might not have faced this challenge, but whenever you talk about underserved communities, whenever you talk about marginalized communities, there's a resistance that is out there in terms of acceptance of digital technologies. That is one major chunk of a problem which India being like a rural dominant country faces. How do we solve this is what we are looking forward to over here. Like, what are the ways in which you can come up with solutions which try to reduce the gap, basically, of understanding and acceptance of digital literacy is something that is expected out of here. Can we move on to the next slide, please? Yeah. Excuse me. When we talk about healthcare as a whole, so whenever we discuss about healthcare, the first major motive that comes to each of us' mind is that how do we try to solve the problems existing? And the most famous solutions that we have seen over period is about medical tech, medtech, which is more towards providing hospital management system, etc. But what we are talking about are two specific problem statements. The first one being lack of access to healthcare in underserved communities. So similar to the educational challenge of underserved communities, what you could put in and realize is that the objective is in underserved communities. When we talk about it, is not only about urban pockets which are not well served or are dislocated. So if you talk about urban areas as well, there are certain pockets which are slum in nature and do not have a well opportunities in terms of taking care of their health situations. Not only this, when we get to the rural areas, we do see there's a huge void in how the medical surgeries, etc., are taken care of. It's a taboo out there. Whenever you are approaching a hospital, whether you are going for certain disease, it's very unholistic over there. So how do you look into this factor, that how could healthcare be access to underserved communities. You could think of ways in which you could create tiers wherein there could be medical volunteers who would be addressing certain set of a certain section of the communities. Once those are not resolved, it could be raised again to a higher medical expert who could help them solve these problems. So this is something which you could come up when we are talking about lack of access to healthcare in underserved communities. Um, the second problem being accelerating drug discovery with generative AI. This is one of the very interesting problem statements, which I'd say right now all the big pharmaceutical companies are trying to solve and look into. This is a challenge wherein you not only require to understand what is the drug discovery process, but also propose how you can train a model to come up with ways in which drug discovery could be fast enough. The process could be sped up. But one important suggestion would be that whenever you are proposing a solution in this problem statement, make sure you are taking an example of one specific disease for which you are trying to create the drug basically over here. So drug discovery for one specific disease. If you are providing multiple uh, diseases and putting up a vague proposal, that would be very difficult because it is a very niche problem statement whenever you are talking about drug discovery for a specific disease. Then moving on next, please. Yeah. Reducing inequality is another challenge that we as an entire nation face till date. The first being bridging the gender gap, empowering the girl child. So it might not be as predominant over here in urban areas as it is in the rural areas. So whenever you are talking about empowering girl child, you need to not only think towards the perspective of educating the girl child, but also look into the perspective of how your solution could have provisions in which they could encourage the entire society around that girl child to be promoted or be upskilled in terms of different qualities, be it education, be it sports, be it equal human rights, etc. Anything, it could be anything. So whenever you are trying to build a solution on this problem statement, try to build a solution which is first of all focusing towards the girl user and also towards the society or the community around her who would be playing an important part in her upskilling. Now coming to the second problem statement, that is building an inclusive world for neurodiverse individuals. So again, similar to the previous theme of medical, this is another problem statement which is very niche in nature whenever you are talking about how you can build an inclusive world for neurodiverse individuals. So whenever you are talking about neurodiversity, you are looking towards people with different abilities who might be very skilled enough, who might not be skilled enough, who might have different traits. So you could have people who are very like enthusiastic about certain topics while not interested towards other topics. There could be a variety of range which you are trying to target. So this is one problem statement in which you need to do a lot of user-based research. You need to understand a lot about how this ecosystem works, what are the categories of people you might face who would be ultimately be your end user. So this problem statement requires a lot of research compared to the other problem statements that were there to understand the community, what are the individuals who compose of this community, and how you'd be able to build a solution which caters to them. Yeah. Can we move on next, please? Yeah. So coming to poverty, empowering rural communities to break the cycle of poverty. Um, this is something which India has been tackling for a long time, and right now I do believe we are at a much better place that we have been from before. But this problem still persists in rural areas, even in urban areas. This problem exists. So, what are the solutions that you can provide to help rural communities to break the cycle of poverty? Now, when we are specifically talking about cycle of poverty, it means that you are stuck in a loop, and this is what you should try to address to, because if you talk about a regular Indian farmer's journey, a farmer takes out a loan, does cultivation on his farmland, pays back the loan, tries to pay back the loan, reaps the reward from his cultivation, then again applies for a loan for the next lot of agriculture. This is what the cycle of an average rural farmer in India looks like. So this is something which we are trying to address one specific example. There are multiple examples of these scenarios. So whenever you are talking about solving this solution, this problem statement, you should look into factors in which a rural person might fall into a loop. It could be anything. It could be like lucrative deals, which are not as like which could be heinous in nature. So you need to look into those factors, analyze what the rural community falls for and is stuck in a loop of loans and other monetary recoveries. So try to understand the end user and then build up solutions for this problem statement basically. Uh, yeah. Again, addressing the farmer and rural community, that was specifically in terms of the poverty-stricken end users. Now, when we talk about farmer and rural community, there are two problem statements out there. One being harvesting the future, which is AI solutions for smallhold farmers. So when we talk about AI solutions for farmers, or when we talk about solutions for farmer, what we have seen is that there's a plethora of IoT solutions that have been going on or are being proposed eventually in multiple hackathons. IoT solutions which do smart irrigation is the most common solution provided by student participants when we talk about hackathon solutions. But what we are looking forward to is that how you could integrate AI in the solutions that you're wishing to provide a farmer. So it could be ranging from anything by, and like let's say for example, analyzing the soil moisture content and providing him feedback on what kind of crops to grow over here, utilizing the LLM model that you're running behind and powers of GenAI. That is just one example of what you could do. There could be multiple examples of it, like addressing automating the entire irrigation process using Gen AI, analyzing the crops that could be grown, analyzing the growth of the crops, what else could be done, and what are the factors that could be brought in. So these are some of the examples that you can work when you are talking about like AI solution for smallholder farmers. And also remember, these are smallholder farmers, so your solutions should be cheap, cheap as in easily accessible to the farmer, as well as since these are smallholder farmers, they will have the same problem as which a small farmer would face of lack of resources. So your solution must be easily affordable to the end user. Talking about empowering small and marginal farmers with AI-driven agriculture solution. So whenever you're talking about this solution, more or less, if a layman would look into these two problem statements, it would seem like the same. But when you are talking about harvesting the future, AI solutions for smallholder farmers, while empowering small and marginal farmers with AI-driven agricultural solution, you are talking about marginal farmers who are not well equipped with technology and monetarily, both perspectives. So this is something wherein you are trying to solve for a greater cause in terms of people or farmers who are less resource savvy in terms of both technically as well as monetarily. Can we move on to the next, please? Yeah. Sustainability. Let me just go to it. Yeah, there are 4 to 5 more. Okay, so when we talk about sustainability, the first thing that comes to every individual is that how we can reduce the uses of plastics, how we can reduce the uses of electronic waste, etc. But the problem statements provided over here are specific in nature. So let's say we are talking about the first problem statement, that is the growing crisis of e-waste. So what we all as an users might not have realized is that there's a process for collection of waste these days at every city, at every major city, and this collection of waste is more focused towards biodegradable waste and non-biodegradable waste, which comprise of materials like plastic, materials like wood, etc., or the packaging materials, etc. But one thing which is not being focused right now is collection or handling of e-waste. This scenario has risen to such a scale that people today are seeing land masses being filled with e-waste. The problem with e-waste is that it is a mixture of plastic materials, silicon, etc., which are very dangerous for the nature wherein wherever you are dumping it. The other factor is that whenever talking about e-waste, one important monetary aspect of this is that you could recycle it and reuse it. So whenever you are talking about, let's say, a PC or an iPad, or let's say a radio being non-functional, or let's say an air fryer being non-functional, in that scenario, what happens is that it's not the entire unit that is non-functional. There are certain components which are not functioning, other components are working perfectly fine. So you could think towards solutions which not only look towards management and collection of e-waste as well as processing it, but also you could look into places wherein you can think of creating a marketplace for components which are working fine in the e-waste segment. So that is something which you should start looking forward to whenever you are trying to solve this problem statement. Uh, Coming back next to transforming logistics for sustainable and efficient future. So as we have been seeing with the boom in EV, especially in India and abroad, the adoption of electric vehicles is pretty fast paced. But this is something which is mostly now in the consumer sector. So when I speak about consumer, I mean like individual private vehicles are more focused towards adoption of EV. Public transport still faces in multiple areas this challenge of having non-EV vehicles or a non-sustainable transportation or logistic format. So whenever you're looking forward to this solution, try to address challenges wherein you are trying to address the public transportation. And by public transportation, I not only include of road or by rail or air, but we also mean different segments. It could be uh, transportation of cargo, goods, and how different sustainable methods could be utilized. It is not only about electric vehicles, it could be something as futuristic as hydrogen powered vehicles, etc. So, whatever you're looking forward to, it could be a digital solution that you are providing, which could have like a tracking and a monitoring of multiple EV charging stations on a certain routes, and how you could help predict certain directions. So it could be anything that you're trying to solve. But the objective over here is that how you could help transform the logistics towards a more sustainable future. Then coming to the next segment, that is reviving the Indian cow breed for sustainable future. Uh, this is problem statement, again, a pretty niche problem statement, and the participants who are trying to solve this problem statement need to have an understanding of the multiple breeds that are present when we are talking about Indian cows in the entire ecosystem, that is the entire country, how each breed differs from other, how you can look forward to towards the growth of these breeds in certain pockets or regions, and what are the like favorable conditions for each specific breed is something that you can propose in this solution. Say, for example, you build an application which scans and predicts the breed of the cow, and also helps the farmer understand what are the like good conditions in which the cow should be kept in, which helps um, revive the Indian cow breed. So that is something which we are looking forward to over here. Now coming to the fourth and the final problem statement of sustainability, that is leveraging AI to tackle rural challenges and foster sustainable development. So um, again, the challenges that we have been talking about rural areas, they face being resistance towards digital technologies. Then again, understanding of technology, how it could help enhance their productivity, be it farming, be it cattle, be it any form of like agro-based products that they are building, if they are having like local products that they are shipping globally. So all of these solutions, whatever the rural end user is working upon, or the challenges that they are facing, how we can leverage AI to tackle those solutions and also help in their sustainable development. So let's say if they are utilizing certain kind of product for packaging, which is like easily available, or that is the only solution that they know about packaging of their goods that they are manufacturing, the AI that you're building could help them predict and let them know that there are certain other kind of packaging material which they could utilize in building the packaging component for the goods to be like sold outside. So these are some of the solutions that you can come up when we are talking about sustainability. Can we move on to the next? Yeah. So in terms of climate, when we talk about climate as a problem statement, there are when we talk about climate as a theme, there's one problem statement that is tackling climate changes through innovation and collaboration. So this is a very wide aimed problem statement that we are looking forward to, which focuses on tackling the climate changes. We all have seen the problem that the globe is facing today due to climate changes, be it forest fires, be it like unseasonal rain, which disrupts the entire like crops and agriculture of farmers. So there are multiple problems that are being faced due to the climate change. So what are some innovative ways through which you could come up with solutions which could help tackle the climate change, which is very predominant in areas? So it could be like let's say, for example, if it's a disaster prone area, it could be something which could help them predict disaster in advance. If it is like a agricultural area, it could help them predict, like, okay, there is an unseasonal rain that might occur in next few days, so be prepared for it, etc. So it could be any solution which is looking forward to tackling the climate change overall. Then coming back to the next theme, that is music. So the problem statement is library and tools for analysis and synthesis of Indian classical music. So this again is a pretty straightforward, basically RAG model solution that you're trying to address over here, which is more towards library and tools for analysis and synthesis of Indian classical music. So whenever you're trying to solve this problem, you could work upon regression model to create or synthesize in terms of the problem set to synthesize Indian classical music. So this is a straightforward implementation whenever you're talking about Gen AI technologies, but you should also understand what are the core fundamentals that are being faced in this problem statement. Now moving on to the next category, that is fintech. So in fintech, we have a problem statement of Gen AI powered financial assistant for better investing decisions. This problem statement these days is pretty predominant in terms of hackathon solutions that participants come up with. It could be anything ranging from accessing the investment portfolio that an individual has, and how it could be guided, how that person could be guided in terms of making better financial decisions. This is something the solution could be directly putting it straightforward. You could look forward to integrating certain APIs which Zerodha already provides or Grow provides as multiple investment brokers that are out there. So you could look forward to those solutions, or you could start building a chatbot which could help this entire like an individual help take better financial decisions in terms of investment. Now, coming back to disaster management, this again, as I was mentioning in the climate problem statement, when we are talking about disaster management, this is more towards the response post the disaster management. So in climate team, what you can propose is like certain predictions and how you can start tackling around the climate change that is occurring globally. But when we talk about disaster management, this specific problem statement looks forward to the response and relay mechanisms of disaster management in India. So this is focused towards how disaster management in areas, let's say, for example, the eastern side of India faces a lot of cyclone every year, be it Chennai, be it Tamil Nadu, Orissa, Andhra Pradesh. This entire part of the India faces cyclones, is prone to cyclones every year. Similarly, the issue of floods in Bihar and other areas, be it Uttar Pradesh, be it Punjab at times, faces the problem of floods. So you could look forward to what is the response and what is the application that you're trying to build, which could help enhance the response for disaster management in these areas. Yeah. Moving on to cybersecurity and IP. Okay. Yeah. So for cybersecurity and IP, the first problem statement is safeguarding stories AI for intellectual property protection. So um, one of the most addressing issues that currently India as a nation or globally nations across face is that protection of IP rights. So when we talk about intellectual property protection, we talk about ideas being protected or solutions being protected across this domain. So whenever you are creating certain solutions, how do you protect it and how do you keep it secure whenever you are, let's say, so when you're talking about AI for intellectual property protection, so how could an AI assist a user curb ways or be aware about what are the procedures for property protection? That is something which we are looking forward to. Now, coming to the next problem statement, that is scaling trust, that is AI powered detection of online harm. So, um, we do see like these days, digital fraud is pretty prevalent, and there are certain trends that are very popular, or there are certain patterns in which a person who is trying to commit a scam or a fraud digitally follows, and that is followed across multiple organizations, etc. So when we are talking about AI powered detection of online harms, we are looking forward to solutions which could detect and predict patterns in certain transactions. If we are talking about financial fraud, it could be like a pattern in which imposter imposes to be a person who he actually is not. So these are the solutions that we are looking forward to, which could help resolve or predict or prevent online digital fraud at different levels. It could be financial fraud, it could be phishing fraud, etc. It could be any kind of fraud that we are looking forward to. The third problem statement in cybersecurity and IP is navigating digital rights, AI for content licensing and compliance. So when we talk about compliances, there are multiple compliances that needs to be done. Um, there are multiple compliances that an organization or a freelance or an individual needs to do. It could be ISO 9001 or 27001. There are multiple formats. Just two examples that I give. But these are some things which an individual is not aware of when they are building solutions. And that is very important when you are running an organization, or if there are certain organizations, you need to be aware of the compliances that you need to adhere to or solve. So this problem statement talks about how you could create an AI which could help content licensing and compliance for different uh, solutions that you have created, and how you can understand the integrities of this. Shall we move on to the next category, please? Okay, consumer behavior. So, revolutionizing voting with faster and secure automated verification. So, when we are talking about revolutionizing voting, there could be multiple solutions these days. Like as you all might have faced it at some point. The KYCs for our bank account creations or multiple financial accounts are done digitally. So that is something which was not thought of before. Earlier, like if we would have been like 10 years prior to now, we would have never thought about um, us being able to open a bank account without being able to visit a bank. So that was something which was not thinkable of 10 years back. This is something which is possible due to the technology. Now, similarly, what are the ways in which you can think of revolutionizing the voting with faster and secure automated verification? This in terms means like what are the ways in which you can propose voting could be conducted. It could be any form of voting, not only by voting, we do not mean only specifically reliant to the elections or election results that are out there, but we are looking forward to any form of voting in which you can help propose solutions which could help faster and secure the automated verification process. Now coming on to the next problem statement, that is empowering safety champions, AI-driven fire safety training for hotel staff. So um, we do see frequently the news about there's a gas leakage, there's fire incidents in hotels, etc. So which is something which we all as an individual at times take lightly, the fire safety drills that happen. So how you can come up with solution which can help basically educate hotel staff about prevention methods of fire and also encourage them to follow fire safety rules. This could be certain detection, smart detection system which could warn the management about, like, let's say certain fire safety rules are not being followed, and it could be any solution that you are looking forward to which could help enhance the fire safety within hotels. Shall we move on to the next, please? Yeah. So we have the, I believe, the last set of problem statements before we end up with the Q&A. So when we talk about sports as a theme, the problem statement over here is revolutionizing athlete management in the Indian sporting industry. So when we talk about athlete management, this is a segment which we individually or personally might have not seen or experienced until and unless we have been a part of a sporting community, or we ourselves have dreamt of being a professional athlete. So this is something which needs a very precise solutions where we are talking about how athlete management could be done in the Indian sporting industry. It could be across different games or sports, as you might say. But the whole objective over here is that be it scouting of best athletes for the games, be it representing India, state level, etc., or the managements being able to track the progress of their athletes, their health, their performance metrics, etc. So this could be an analytical solution that you are providing in terms of athlete management. Now coming to food and beverages, the problem statement here is precision baking, AI for accurate ingredients, measurement in grams. And this is something which will look forward to. If you are talking about volumetric measurement, it could be done utilizing image recognition. But when you are talking about weight management, you require certain IoT tools, sensors to understand and come up with measurements which help, like accurate measurement of ingredients whenever you're talking about baking, whenever you're talking about cooking stuff. So this is something which would help a lot of chefs or people like me who want to cook at times and do not have an idea of how much sugar to put in. This is something which could help people like us and anyone who is trying to solve for this specific problem statement. It could be any solution. It could be an IoT enabled like a device which could weigh in the weight of certain fundamentals, or it could be a smart device which not only weighs certain products but also helps you with the recipe of the product that you're trying to cook. Uh, then coming to road safety, the problem statement being driving safer roads, AI for motor insurance risk assessment. So the segment of motor vehicles is basically very fragile in a way whenever you are talking about motor insurance, etc. So those risk assessments need a lot of data. It is more towards analytical problem statement, wherein you could have lots of analysis on a driver, driving patterns, their behavior, their previous incidents that might have occurred, and based on this, you can not only help insurance companies take a better decision or wise decision in terms of granting insurance to certain vehicles, and also it could be like certain areas which could be taken into account. So say for example uneven area in a locality might have less insurance coverage compared to an area which has a better functioning roads, because obviously there are fundamentals of vehicle tearing out with time, etc., or causes of accidents in a accident-prone area. So these are the fundamentals which you can look up to when you are trying to solve for road safety. Can we move on to the next, please? Okay, this problem statement I believe would be favorite of many individuals who are trying to solve for this. Um, the problem statement is about open innovation in AI, and whenever you are trying to solve like open innovation in AI, the fundamentals that you should keep in mind is that your solution should comprise of the AI as the primary use case. So if you are proposing a solution which is more towards fintech but has a less uses of AI, then you might stand less chances compared to others who are focusing primarily on AI powered solution for different domains. So this is something, the only thing that you should keep in mind when you are talking about open innovation in AI. With this, I believe I have been able to cover all the problem statements, and I believe it was a long session that I took in terms of explaining each and every problem statement. But again, once again, before I wrap, I'd like to say that remember, whenever you are talking about building a proposal, try to understand what evaluator would want to look into your solution. That is something which you should preempt and build a solution around. Few things again to keep in mind: emphasize on the challenge that you're trying to solve. So, for instance, I'll just give you an example. For me, if I'm from an urban background, I might not be aware of the difficulties that a rural farmer faces. This is something which is very important. You need to understand that the emphasis on the challenge needs to be done first, wherein you are trying to explain the challenge out there. So, someone, for example, who might not have faced or seen the calamities that happen post a cyclone would not be able to relate with the gravity of the solution that you're trying to propose. But if you are able to explain him or her in the first one or two slides that how many lives are disturbed due to cyclones, how many like properties are damaged, he'd be able to understand or relate to, okay, this is something which is a very grief problem in the community or in the ecosystem today. So first thing you should always remember is that addressing the challenge that you're trying to solve. Then come up with a precise and a brief solution of what you're trying to solve. It should be very like presented in bullet points explaining the fundamentals that you're trying to solve. Then talk about the features that your product or a solution is going to have, and then get into the technicalities. Like the architecture diagram is something which helps understand and evaluate how technically apt you are in terms of building the solution, whether you are in the right track, whether your solution that you are proposing would be able to scale or not. That is something which helps an evaluator in terms when you are providing an architecture diagram. Then also make sure to propose certain process flows so that the end user is able to actually know what the process looks like, how the user will be able to navigate through the solution that you are providing to the end user. And also back it up at the end of the slide. I'd suggest, like, if you are able to understand what are the price metrics or the costs that would be incurred in implementing the solution, that would be really helpful. And also understanding what exactly are the fundamental challenges that you might face or the future prospects that you might look into implementing into the solution. These are the few things that you need to keep in mind. And obviously, users of Google Gen AI tools would give you additional points. And remember, like, implementation of AI is something that is very necessary whenever you are trying to provide a solution which is more focused towards AI powering. Then you need to create a proper use case of AI utility. It should not be just a chatbot which is a plug-in to an already existing type of a solution. It should be something which is driven by AI, and how you are looking into those fundamentals is you should keep in mind whenever you are trying to build a proposal around any of the problem statements or solutions that you're trying to provide to the team. So that is it, I would say.
Great. Thank you so much, Kaushik, for the entire explanation. It was really in depth. Now we'll be moving on to the Q&A section. And for that, I'll request you all to Stay on mute, raise your hand. I'll call out your name and then you can unmute and ask a question. And Kaushik is here to answer. So I can see Aman Momin. You can ask.
How can I motivate uh, participants? Because I have only 80 participants in my college, and no can able to apply that project and that knowledge that have in our college.
I believe, Uzma, you'll be able to take this, right?
So, Aman, I'd like to ask you, have you gone through the social toolkit? Have you seen the resources that we've provided there? If you haven't, we have given you all the content that you need. You can send emails. You can post on social media encouraging your participants to register for the Solutions Challenge. If nothing else works, you can also involve a faculty member and ask them to, encourage students to participate. Because sometimes it happens that a faculty member saying, a faculty member promoting something might leave more of an effect. So if you feel like you need to motivate the participants, the first thing to do would be to communicate it from your end, to tell them about the benefits of the Solutions Challenge, the possible rewards and benefits that they'll get by participating in the Solutions Challenge. If that doesn't motivate them, then there are other social toolkit resources that we can use. You can also send them invites to all the sessions that we are having, the workshops that we are having. So once they start getting involved in the sessions, they might start getting interested in it. And if you need any further resources, then you can always reach out to us.
Okay, ma'am.
Um,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Ankita,
Good evening, ma'am.
good evening.
Ma'am, I do have a concern that on the website it is imposed that age should be greater than 18, and most of the students which are from first year and even the second year are under 18. They are around 17 and are going to be 18 this year. Actually, they are interested, but they can't participate as per the eligibility criteria. Could you suggest something?
Well, the eligibility criteria is 18. They have to be 18 years of age.
I believe there will be a clause added soon in terms of participation of students who are below 18. So there will be a clause, I definitely believe, which will be added soon into the website.
Any other questions?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
We have a comment. The question says, as per the problem statement descriptions for safeguarding IP, it seems like we are supposed to build a solution exclusively for Disney. Is it so?
Uh, so to answer this, basically, the problem statement has been provided by Disney as an organization, but your solution can address any of the generic problem statements. It should like it could, if you want, you can wish to build specifically for Disney, but we'd be more than happy if you're providing a generic solution for everyone across. That is something that we individuals are looking forward to.
If anybody has any other questions, you can just raise your hand and then I'll ask you to put forward your questions. So please raise your hand if you have any other questions. This is a great time to have all your queries about the problem statements resolved. So I would really encourage you, even if it's the littlest of questions, please do ask. We have another question. In open innovation category, is it necessary for us that in our solution, AI should play maximum role in solving the problem?
So when we talk about open innovation in AI, the name of the problem statement itself suggests that the solution expected are in AI category. As mentioned specifically earlier, it should not be something wherein AI is just a little part, like a chatbot in an entire solution that you're proposing. It is something which we are looking forward to as a major driver of the solution. So it could be utilized in multiple segments in smaller parts. So let's say, for example, for analytics, you are utilizing some aspect of AI. For chatting, you are utilizing certain aspects of AI. So you could have a mix and merge of all of these, and then it could be a something which is more driven towards proposing an open innovation using AI. I hope that helps.
The next question is our proposal of solution is completely unique without integrating any existing ideas or product or solution? It's in the chat box.
Without integrating any existing. Um, Actually, I'm not able to understand what the question is exactly about. If the question could be repeated, that would be really great. Solution completely unique.
So until we get clarification of that question, please, anybody else, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Gajanan, like Kaushik just mentioned, there is something coming up for those who are below 18. So you will be informed about it for sure. Are there any other questions? Are the solutions all software based?
No, you can provide any, as I was mentioning in multiple problem statements, you can build hardware-based solutions also, which are powered utilizing AI solutions. So at the end of the day, if you are proposing an IoT-based solution, you will definitely have some software that would be powering it, and that software must have like AI solutions, which you can provide in the entire like solution as a package when you're talking about hardware-based solutions as well.
Any other questions, guys? Please just raise your hand and ask your question. We have Kaushik here to answer your questions. If you have any, even if it's the littlest of doubts, just get it clarified. If a problem statement sounds generic to us, then can we ourselves mold it and give it a direction? That's a question.
Yes, sure. If a problem statement is generic, you can mold according to one use case, as I was mentioning. For example, the drug discovery problem statement. It was a generic problem statement, not emphasizing upon which disease, for which disease the drug discovery should be done. So you could take any specific disease and try to solve for it. So just like that, if a problem statement is generic, you can mold it according to a specific use case that you're trying to solve. There's one more solution.
Yeah.
Question. If the solution is hardware based, students from electronic department are asking how come they represent their project. So as I mentioned, it like a purely hardware solution will also have certain parameters which need a software based solution. Because let's say, for example, you are trying to build a IoT based solution, so you need to have a UI interface for that to work along, and that is something where we are looking forward to AI based integration, and also which is where you can put in the GitHub repositories as well. uh, IoT based solutions will also have like code base, as if you are talking about be it Arduino Uno or Raspberry Pi, you would be having like the code base for those specific microcomputers as well. So that is something which we are looking forward to when we talk about GitHub repositories.
There's a question that asks, are we supposed to include code in our project?
Yes, definitely. When we talk about submitting GitHub repositories, we mean the code base of your project.
I can see on YouTube we have a question. Does our proposed solution for this hackathon stand out as entirely original without relying on existing ideas, products, or solutions? For example, using OpenAI to our new solution. I think that's the clarification for the question.
Got it. Got it. So when you're talking about uses of different tools, yes, definitely you can utilize different tools, but make sure that if there is a existing Google solution for that specific tool or alternative for that tool that you're trying to use, make sure you're utilizing the Google tools instead of any other tool. So say, for example, you're looking forward to integrate OpenAI's ChatGPT. Here, as this is a Google-led hackathon, so you need to implement Google Gemini API instead of utilizing ChatGPT over there. Just an example. So you can use multiple tools as whatever you look. So say, for example, some teams will require integration of Hugging Face. You can do that. So different tools you can utilize at different stages.
There's another question from YouTube. When it's mentioned that an AI-powered solution is needed, does that mean the project itself needs to be an AI model, or does a platform utilizing AI counts as AI powered?
Platform utilizing AI counts as well.
Great. We have a question about cloud credits claiming. They're asking if the initial payment is mandatory. They mentioned rupees 2 for UPI mode in the guidelines. So we have Ganesh with us. Ganesh will be able to guide you.
So Vijay, the initial payment is for just verification purpose only. In a couple of days, it will be refunded to your UPI account while it is debited. So just for verifying that you are human and you have a bank account in India and you have a UPI account set up for the payment things.
Thank you, Ganesh. Are there any other questions, guys? If you have any other questions, just raise your hand and ask. Okay. If you don't have any other questions, here is the upcoming workshops that we are hosting. I mentioned in one of the previous slides that we are hosting regular workshops for you. So the next workshop that we have is on 24th January on Cloud and Vertex. After that, there's a workshop on 27th January about AI/ML integration in your projects. After that, we'll have another workshop on web and Flutter development on 30th January. Don't worry, you will get communications related to all of these sessions. So keep an eye out on your inbox and on our social media, because everything will be announced through these two mediums. So thank you everyone for joining. We hope that you took away a lot of things from this, because the problem statements were explained really well. And we just hope that you took away from it. If you have any other questions that you think of after the session, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer. Thank you for joining, everyone.